let's begin with the last panel discussion for today's agenda. And this one is very, very important because the topic for this panel discussion is going to be the future of marketing, role of automation, AIML, and analytics as well. The moderator for this panel discussion will be Kerry Desberg, Chief Marketing Officer, Impartner, and there Kerry's already joined us. Welcome. Thank you so much for being so patient and joining us here, ma'am. And let me just quickly introduce the panelists for this session. Please welcome Shashi Kiran, Chief Marketing Officer from Aryaka Networks, and Abhishek Vanamali, Chief Marketing Officer from Zensar Technologies.
Great. Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yes, we can hear you clearly, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This is Kerry Desberg. I am Chief Marketing Officer for Impartner. I am coming to you live from Santa Fe. I actually live in Seattle, and I'm away for a very safe social distancing weekend. My company that I work for, we're based in Salt Lake City. So here I am talking to you in India. So many of you, I know a lot of you are in other parts of the world. And I just think that's a perfect example of why it is such a great time to be a marketer and why everything's so different. We span the globe with time zones, languages, and all these crazy work environments that we're in. And everything's just so different than it was just a few months ago. And I think it is, I heard somebody say earlier in the event that it's a great time to be a marketer. And I really think that's true. There's a phrase that says that calm seas don't make good sailors. And I don't know about all of you, but I've certainly felt like this has been the marketing Hunger Games. And but I think that our team is actually better and smarter. And we have absolutely turned to AI automation to be able to survive in this historic and unscriptable period. Several months ago, Microsoft said that digital transformation that was taking 2 years is happening 2 months. And that is absolutely what we were feeling. So as we have this conversation today, I would say to all of us, we're all in different stages of our digital transformation journey, that I think that we are currently right in the future. I think we've accelerated 2 years into the future. And I want to spend the time in this future of marketing and the role of automation and AI and ML, in part talking about what's really happening for us and what's happening in our marketing tech stack. If all of you haven't jumped on board, boy, now is the time to do it. So Abhishek and Shashi, I'm so excited to have you on board and have this conversation. I've talked to both of them beforehand, obviously, and we all have lots of opinions on what's happening. So I'll just spend a few minutes talking about what we're doing in Impartner and a bit about what our technology does in the marketplace to add some context. And then Abhishek and Shashi will do the same. Impartner makes partner relationship management software. So it's a bit of a CRM for your channel. So most companies, 75% or more of the revenue goes through the channel. So when you have something that automates that partner journey, it has a tremendous impact on the performance of your channel. I see so many customers online today, and so many customers that are award winners. We work with TeamViewer, and we work with LogMeIn, and Honeywell, and Xerox, and Fortinet, a lot of names that you know. In our company, we are 100% demand gen marketing created demand gen. So that's a bit of an unusual mix, I know, for a lot of companies. And we absolutely believe that our marketing tech stack is key to our ability to be better hunters than the next guy. We're bristling full of AI and ABM. And when I say that things have accelerated 2 years and you're in the future, I do believe that really getting on board with an ABM tool is the future for some companies. And that is here right now. The moment is now to do that. I want to share some stats of what happens to us. So, well, our account-based marketing tool, I'm happy to share the name because we really think this company is amazing. We use 6sense. That's our ABM tool. And 88% of our closed business is from is somebody who has done a demonstrable, detectable online research. So when we are out there looking at signal making, and we look at or signal taking, and we look out there, and the analogy I always make to the team is that it is somewhat like being up in a fire tower and you're looking out over the forest and you're looking for whiffs of smoke and you have this almost omniscient view. uh, we prioritize, we look for those signals and we look for those companies that have strong to moderate fits. 82% of our closed won deals come from strong to moderate fits. So that is that ABM engine running. That is that refinement of what we see. It is putting that game right in front of us and we can see it. And that's so powerful for us because it takes us an average of 8 months to convert a strong fit with no signals, as opposed to 60 days when signals are present. So for those of you who are out there who have been, just looking and dragging your feet and saying, wow, should I really pull this lever? Is this, intelligence and this AI tool really going to make a difference? It's our secret sauce. And during COVID, what a terrifying time, right? We shifted our marketing engines like everybody else. We immediately shifted to those verticals where we could see that there was more business momentum, and we doubled down on that, and almost instantly our pipeline was filled with those companies. So we shifted to those verticals, we shifted for those signals, we looked where there was actual buying momentum, and it helped us survive, not only survive, but also thrive and scale and prosper in a market where many companies didn't make it. I will also tell you, in our marketing team, the BDRs, that top level of the sales funnel, business development reps, they report in through marketing. And we are 12% higher performing than all of the companies when you look out there at studies by HubSpot and Bridge Group, and a lot of those leading voices that say, how well are you doing? So I will tell you that between the AI bots that we use for, we use Drift, and we use a company called Conversica, our bot, and our ABM tools. That is our future right now. We are doing well in this pandemic, and I would say that if you haven't made that leap, make that leap right now. Or your competitors are going to be there ahead of you because they're going to be better hunters and they're going to eat your lunch. So that's my opening salvo on the future being right now, if you're not already there. Abhishek, how about you? What are you seeing? How is this affecting you, and what is working well for you and not?
So first of all, thank you, the Enterprise IT World team, to having me on this panel, and thank you, Kerry, for setting up the stage for this. This is a. Can you hear me well, Kerry?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes. So as you said, these are the marketing Hunger Games, right? And I would say that marketers first and foremost are innovators, right? I would refuse to believe if anybody says otherwise, because we are innovating every day, right? Trying to figure out how to get our message out there in the worst possible time, right? So we have actually managed to make this pandemic, which is a very, it's a very trying time for all of us, but we have managed to convert this into a gold mine of opportunity for us, right? And I think that in a way just reflects on the innovation of marketing. And because we are innovators first, you know, uh, I have always driven my team within Zensar. We are an IT services company, right? To adopt uh, the latest technologies out there, and AI, ML, and analytics are definitely one of them, right? We talked about Sixth Sense, fantastic tool, right? And for us, it's like a spectrum of signals. For you, it's strong signals, and then you convert within 60 days. That's brilliant. For us, our average deal size can take anywhere between, I don't know, 8 months to 2 years, right? It's a long gap. And for us, it is either no signals or weak signals or strong signals. Strong signals we hardly get because our buying process, because we IT services, they're never as crystal clear unless there's an RFP. But sometimes a lot of our business comes without RFPs, right? And that's where the weak signals. And I think weak signals are something that my team really depends on these tools. Sixth Sense, demand based. There's so many of them out there, which basically figure out, hey, this is where the action is happening, and this allows us to direct our marketing dollars, which are precious during COVID times for all of us, to the right, to the right in the right direction. So yes, the example you took is great. The other example I would like to also take quickly, Kerry, is hyper personalization, right? I think one thing that we have noticed that a lot of our customers are used to now Alexas and Google Homes in their houses, and they are always listening, whether we want it or not, right? And they're always personalizing the experience for us. As B2B marketeers, can we do this for our customers, right? How do I communicate with my audience in the most contextual way possible, right? AI and analytics help me do that, right? They help me customize my campaigns for micro segments. And that is the kind of, like, it's literally, it's a gold mine for us, right? Because at the end of the day, rather than spray and pray, like we used to do, a few years ago, today we can really target and focus our energies and our messaging. And that is really opens up so many doors for us. So yeah, we're really excited to be here.
Awesome. Shashi, how is this feeling to you? What are you seeing? How is this impacting your business? What's working?
Well, good morning, Kerry. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be in here. So as far as we're concerned, let me give a bit of context on the company that I work for. It's called Aryaka Networks. And what we essentially do is deliver the wide area network, which most of you would be using to connect between your different offices, and cloud providers and data centers and things like that, as well as security, and really deliver that as a service. So we built out a global network of our own. We have a footprint in many of the offices, and we built out a service delivery model. So all of these sort of come in loosely into the category of software-defined WAN, as many of you might have heard the terminology. And so I oversee the product management as well as the marketing, demand generation, technology, partnership functions. And we're a global company with our headquarters in San Mateo and presence in Bangalore, India, as well as several other countries globally. And the kind of customers we go after is really in the mid-market enterprise, large enterprises, people that have complexity in terms of getting application performance, over unpredictable environments when they're connecting, as we are all doing over a Zoom call today. Imagine the quality of the application if the underlying network and connectivity would be not good. So those are the problems we solve. And going back to your question, Kerry, we all grew up knowing that marketing is both an art as well as a science, right? And we sometimes look at the art, and art is very subjective, but we've always in some way, shape, or form struggled to get a grasp on the science aspect of it. And the science really has to deal with predictability. How predictable can you make that marketing function? The quantification of what marketing can do is always a mystery to a lot of people who don't understand marketing. And it's always one of the harder things to convey. And when you look at things like a lead funnel, when you look at conversion, yes, you can start to put some numbers in there, but it has always been a challenge to make those numbers forecast, predictable, solve the leads conundrum. Those are the things that we've traditionally struggled with it. And in some ways, we still continue to do so. So in that context, I think this notion of AI, this notion of machine learning, this notion of automation, automation gives us a lot of scale, right? And we can take a number of these workflows, and once you figure out what that particular workflow should be, then you want to really automate it. So 80-90% of your transactions aren't really required to be touched by a human hand to the extent possible. But where AI and ML come in is really where we are leaning forward and taking data and extrapolating in a way that we can now start to predict intent. We can predict certain behavioral patterns. And I think what I'm seeing in the context of this is there isn't anything pervasive yet. So you really have to look at the spectrum of marketing activities, and you have to look at the use cases for which you want to apply tools that have AI or ML capabilities. And then you have to go run certain, pilots, if you will, and start to go about building that kind of DNA within the organization, where for each aspect of that marketing spectrum of activity that you undertake, you start to build that AI DNA. And hopefully, more and more of these evolve to become a more holistic platform-like approach. So you tend to get economies of scale. And I think we're all kind of collectively making progress in that direction.
You said a couple things that just really jumped out at me, because I had just made some notes to myself about things that I feel really strident about. And you said, the art and science, right? And all this is, it really is helping us get after the science in a real way. So many other disciplines have had lots more number crunchy ability than we've had in marketing, and we're really getting there. And I really do think that as a marketer, the future and being in the future of marketing, I don't think it's just about a technology. I actually think that one of the keys to that is our own individual abilities as the CMO to make sure that you're really climbing inside that stuff. I don't know how old all of you guys are. I've been doing this for a bit. And, 25 years ago, I could advance 5 years in my career, and I could manage a team and know exactly what they're doing during the day. And I had deep insights. Now, without micromanaging, but I knew what was going on, and I could, really understand the possibilities and help be a more insightful leader and a better leader at the table for getting investments in the technologies we need. If as a marketing leader right now, if I don't I don't want to say operate at a deeper level, but if I don't climb into that technology and understand at a deeper level what's really going on, I really do think that I could find myself irrelevant, and marketers could find themselves irrelevant in a very dangerous way if you don't know and don't over rotate and really understanding what's going there. I think you're going to be irrelevant if you don't understand the machinery. Doesn't mean micromanaging, but you really have to over rotate yourself to understand the possibilities. What's your experience with that, Shashi and Abhishek? What's your recommendation to folks out there on that front?
Yeah, Shashi, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I completely agree, right? First of all, tools are a means to solving the problem. And in a lot of cases, I've seen organizations that bring in certain tools because it's been recommended to them by somebody and expect magic to happen. And it really doesn't, right? And
Yes.
you really need to understand your organization. And for me, I advise a few startups as well. And I see this as a pattern outside of my own organization, where you kind of look at the market, you look at certain recommendations, and you want to bring a tool, and you apply it, you spend a lot of dollars, and then you see that it isn't working, and you blame the tool. And very often it isn't the tool, but rather understanding your own buyer persona, understanding your own engagement between sales and marketing. And, it starts off with the BDRs that you mentioned, Kerry. What kind of qualification mechanisms do you want to bring in? How do you attribute in a way that you can define, different elements to this campaign? So there are each aspects of it that as a marketeer, you need to drill down. And we've seen marketeers who are either good at brand sometimes, especially in CMO roles. Some have come in from a demand gen background, some come in from a product marketing background, and so some come in from a communications background. And suddenly the CMO position gives you oversight into a broad set of functions, which may or may not be your forte. And so I actually encourage a lot of people who are pursuing this path to go into each one of those functions separately and understand what is required, and then start to apply the technology. And once you start doing that, I think one of the biggest things a CMO can contribute to is to connect the dots, right? And you cannot view it from a one single function perspective and say, hey, this is going to happen. And eventually the chain ends up being only as strong as the weakest link. So that's the approach that I usually advocate, in terms of first understanding the workflow, looking at not just the marketing function, which can also lead to blind spots, but how do you pass the baton to sales or to your channel partners? And what kind of pipeline do you look at end to end, particularly in the context of applying this science? How are people engaging with you as a company? How are people engaging with you as customers? And tailor the marketing and subsequently the more sophisticated application of AI-based tools accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Tools aren't going to replace a really clean strategy to start. That's for sure. Abhishek, what do you see?
Yes. Yeah. So I think, Shashi, that was very good points you raised, right? There is no one size fits all, right? Just because you're buying the latest and greatest tool in the market doesn't mean it's going to work, right? I agree. At Zensar, we actually build. So we are an IT services and consulting company, so we build such tools for our customers, right? One of the work that we do is some of the work we do is actually building custom analytics tools, because the ones that you can buy off the shelf don't really work in the context of an organization, right? So we actually do build for our customers. So we decided to eat our own dog food here, right? And we actually, we evaluated a few sort of attribution platforms to solve the all-important ROI question, right? When the CEO asked me, "Hey, how much ROI has the marketing team generated last quarter?" It's a tough question to answer, right? Always. So we developed our own mobile platform. So basically, we call it Z Degree. It is right now. It's an internal tool that we use, right? The intention of this tool was to bring marketing and our customer. Who's our customer? Sales, not the end customer. Marketing and sales on the same page, right? So they have a full view, a visual view of the exact impact we are bringing at any stage of the pipeline. And we have an exact view as to what impact we are bringing, right? From both on demand and supply side. And where should we deploy more resources and where we should pull back, which campaigns should we stop. So it's like a marketing dashboard, which everybody in sales and marketing has access to. And I think that's what really worked for us, because now suddenly marketing is not this big black box that creates creative campaigns at the drop of a hat. We are actually value bringers. We are actually part of the entire sales process. It's very, I don't know about you guys, but my organization is a very sales driven organization, right? And it is hence very important for me to constantly work with sales, not support them. That's the difference. Not be in the background, but be with them in the forefront. And analytics, data analytics helps me do that. And I would be happy to share, how that app works with you guys if you're interested. It's really changed our lives within Zensar and helps me really have an equal footing with the sales leaders, and it really helps me in my job.
Cool. Well, we're getting some questions in with that intro done. Someone's asking, hey, do you think that with the help of artificial intelligence, online marketing strategies can make data-driven choices for much better campaign results? Do you want to take that, Abhishek? You want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a great question, right? It, you know, a few years ago, we actually had a department called digital marketing. That department doesn't exist anymore because everything is digital marketing now. Okay, especially in the especially in the COVID world, right? So you're absolutely correct. I don't think you can succeed in today's marketing world without data driven. Right, you have to be data driven. That has to be the core of what you do. And as Kerry mentioned, it's the proof is it's right there. 60 days to close deals with high signals, and you won't get these signals unless you have data driven choices and tools. So yes, absolutely. I think AI, online marketing, AI data driven strategies, all these are the fundamental or the foundation of digital marketing, and you cannot have one without the other.
Absolutely agree. Completely agree. So, you know, I think that, we talked about like there's no such thing as a perfect solution. And, you got to have a good strategy, Sashi, before you really apply something. Applying a great tool to a messy process really isn't going to do you much good. But how much of this is pie in the sky? I open and I say, hey, some of this stuff is right here, right now, and we should get going. But different companies, I mean, Abhishek, you say it's a little bit harder because of the way that you do business to find those signals. So does it feel pie in the sky for you? Or do you think it's still a bit like ABM is a bit out for you to really, truly be a successful tool for you?
The question was for Shashi or me?
Oh, sorry, I said Abhishek. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, no problem, no
sorry.
problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's not a pie in the sky, but we cannot completely depend on it. Okay, we actually have while we do make use of ABM tools to help us, many times we do depend on human intelligence as well, right? We actually get a lot of our signals from analysts and advisor firms, right?
Mhm.
Third-party advisors. We get
Yes.
a lot of intelligence from the field salespeople. They are the best source of intelligence. They are the guys who are in the field and talking to so many different customers. Our job is not only to rely on one tool, right? That will just solve maybe 15 to 20% of my problem. So it's not a pie in the sky, but it's not it's not the manna to solve all issues, right? For us, it is it's a combination of tools, combination of human intelligence, combination of third party intelligence, and as marketeers, as a CMO, my job is becoming to connect the dots. I don't think these tools are a place for me, at least, that they can successfully connect the dots to me for me, right? For my team. A lot of the connection of the dots has to be done by me. I think in the future, we'll get there. Right now, it's all about taking these signals and then, as humans, as marketing professionals, as strategic marketing professionals, connecting those dots.
There's a lot of, where we sit, we're a system of record for most companies, and getting the buy is a challenge. And every day, our buyers are channel chiefs, sometimes CMOs, but because it touches a lot of systems, we see people do a good job of getting the technology buy, and we see people struggle to get the buy with their company, get their stakeholders aligned. So here we are in this brave new world with things that people, if you're not in our role, you really don't understand some of the automagical things that happen behind a curtain with some of this signal listening. What's your advice to folks who are listening on how to get the buy? How to get this investment made in the company? What do you recommend, Sashi?
Look, I think that is the easy part. Getting the investment and using this today, there are a lot of ways in which you can try certain things as a pilot with a limited set of licenses, which isn't really cost prohibitive. And I encourage all CMOs to go do some of those things and see how effectively it works for their organizations before making larger commitments, right? But when it comes to things like systems or records, many times, these stand outside of the purview of the marketing organization. It could be in sales ops, it could be a centralized IT. And in such instances, I think going back to the previous question, a lot of the efficacy of these marketing tools then become a question of how good is that data and who's controlling that data. And many times it becomes, it's outside of the purview of marketing, and most times it may be broken depending on the longevity or the maturity of the organization. And any of these tools are only as good as the data that you throw at it. So we need to be cognizant of that. And it's always easy to get these up and running in a newborn organization, right? Because there isn't this data proliferance, there isn't the legacy, there aren't these outdated records, things like that. So I think for us, we can start to look at these in terms of what pain point we want to solve. For example, we talked about chatbots, and that has less relevance in the context of a system record, and you're mostly bringing in induced intelligence in terms of how they engage with the potential prospect. You can set certain boundary conditions to those use cases. Likewise with ABM, you can set certain boundary conditions to something like that. So we have to, make these, use cases work progressively and then start stitching them together into a more end-to-end view. And you can start to get the buy-in for that because that's something you can own in entirety without a lot of codependencies. And that's where, the larger the organization is, sometimes the internal hurdles become that much more difficult to cross.
That's right.
For sure, for sure. How about you, Abhishek? What are your secrets to getting the technology buys that you want in a company?
Well, the CIO is my best friend, right? So I send him flowers on his birthday every year. So
Sage advice.
yeah, I think that's the first thing you should do. No, so you're right, Shashi. Garbage in, garbage out. That's one of the things we learned very early in life, right? I mean, if your data is not good enough. So the first thing actually that we work very closely with the CIO organization, right? And we actually co-located in the same building in our headquarters in Pune in India. And it really helps if we have dedicated interfaces between IT and marketing. There are certain things in the technology space which we cannot do. Like if we go down into the weeds of managing the internals of a website, or managing all the data warehousing that goes behind the marketing automation system. I don't want to have those skills within my team. So I basically depend on IT to do that, right? I work very closely with them. But at the same time, we ensure that we maintain strategic control on that, right? And we make sure that whenever we go to the board or to the CEO or the CFO for approvals, it is not me as this starry-eyed marketing guy trying to push the next tool, but me and the IT guy together going to the CFO and showing, what, we do this, we get the ROI. So we really have to work together with the IT teams and make sure that it's like a two-in-a-box approach, so that we can really connect the dots between technology and marketing outcomes. So that's what we do, Kerry, within Zensar.
I'm smiling because that's just so true, right? The starry-eyed marketer, right? Being BFFs with the CIO and the CFO, it really is key. And the companies that we see be most successful in purchasing our technology, absolutely get those folks on board. And don't try to do a credit card swipe and tuck and run and, sneak in there with some shadow IT. It just usually works out so poorly. It really does. And when you're really being thoughtful, as you said, and really understanding what the ROI is, I'm sure you're going to be trying some new things, right? We're on the edge here. These are future technologies, and but getting those folks aligned is really critical. We found in our own company that we win 72% of the deals when we bring IT in. It's really critical, So we always try to make friends with the IT folks when we're going through a sale. So it's great advice. And there's a question for you, Abhishek.
Right.
And the person says, you spoke about the working with sales teams as an equal partner. This is a huge shift for many marketers. Oh yeah, that are too often sales-driven organizations. What's your advice on some key actions to achieve this?
Great question. I think it was Karthik who asked this. So, it's an interesting relationship between marketing and sales, right? At one point, the sales, the typical salesperson, and I'm sure a few of them on this call, they are these type A people who want to take complete control and they want to get all the credit and all that, which is fine, and in my organization, I have sort of pushed my team to develop a relationship with the sales team, which is value based. What does that mean? This means that we we have, first of all, it's open communications, and then proactively adding value through intelligence. This is where actually AI, ML, and data analytics come. That's a strength here, right? We can use the insight that tools like Sixth Sense, like demand base or whatever what they generate, and we can start adding value to our sales team. Now, it'll be different for different organizations, right? Different sales cycles, different sales processes. But in our organization, we add value at an account level where we say, hey, you know what? We see these signals coming from your account. I think you should go and, start this little campaign in your account, right? So when the moment your relationship becomes strategic, becomes value-based and less tactical, you have really, you literally elevated your status in the organization and in the eyes of the sales, right? Where you then become an equal partner. When the sales guy starts thinking, hey, you know what? I cannot succeed without this team. That's where we want to get. And so the real steps that we can take is first share information, over communicate, create platforms where the sales guys have access to the information inside your teams generate, and all these things will help you get to that stage. So yeah, so it's a journey, but I think it's a journey all marketing teams should take very seriously, especially in B2B.
Cool. All right. I thank you for that. Okay, so I hear a comment here: by helping marketers collect data, identify new customer segments, and create a more unified marketing and analytics system, do you think AI can scale customer personalization and precision in ways that didn't exist before? Shashi, you want to take that?
Look, I think they're becoming more and more powerful. The capabilities are increasing, and we are going to see a set of consolidation of these capabilities where you can effectively look at it as more of a holistic platform view, right? And I definitely see the trends going down that direction. Even in the course of this year, some companies that we've been working with have acquired each other, and so it takes some time to get the benefits of the combined, acquisition, but definitely we see that evolution happening. And the more we can start to really look at data in terms of measuring ourselves and become friends with data, I think the more insights that we can derive. We also have to just figure out a way, because there is an implosion happening of data, right? We all talk about data, but how do you handle too much data, and what data do you specifically act upon? And so those are the next level of, next level of activities and marketing insights that we all need to start to look at. Where previously we were dealing with the absence of data, the shift now that is happening is too much data. And so that's a different kind of problem we would then have to deal with. It's a better problem to solve, but nevertheless, I think that's what I am seeing across the organization.
Abhishek, what would you add?
Yeah, I think Shashi covered that pretty well. I would like to add another aspect to this, right? Especially that's relevant in the pandemic times, virtual events. Just imagine, right? I mean, in a real event, yeah, I know this is one. In a real event, let's say you're doing your VMworld, right? In a real event, what if you had a tracker on each and every participant and you knew exactly what that participant was doing throughout that event, right? I mean, that would be an invasion of privacy. That's reality in the digital in the virtual world. You know exactly what each participant in the event is doing. Is he turning off his video? Is he attending a session? What kind of questions he asking, etc., etc. What do you do with that data, right? So again, it's as Shashi said, it is an overabundance of data, and I think as marketeers and innovators, we need to make sure that we are not only focusing on signals and just demand gen, but also looking across the spectrum of marketing, how we can apply data intelligence on these sets of data and get value out of it. So yes, the possibilities are endless, and it's really just a start.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think we're getting close to time, and we need to wrap it up. So let's all leave with what we want everybody to walk away most in their mind about automation and AI and ML. Shashi, what's your closing salvo?
I would encourage everybody to start to embrace these technologies, and as leaders, make sure that your teams are trained, the culture and the workflows are all set up such that when you onboard these technologies, there isn't artificial resistance, there aren't concerns about job security, there aren't issues about how to actually leverage that and make their jobs more productive, right? So these are issues that can be solved at a leadership level. And the more we embrace these technologies, I think the more powerful our teams become. And consequently, marketing becomes a lot more strategic to the direction of the company. And we've always talked about the value that marketing brings. And regardless of the lens that somebody else sees it, sales guys typically tend to see it from the point of view of leads or, certain messaging. A CEO might look at it from a brand perspective. So regardless of the lens that somebody looks at marketing from, it elevates this function to be more strategic and more impactful.
Absolutely. Abhishek.
Yes, so I think I will have a slightly contrarian view here, right? Just because I can. I want marketers to continue pushing the boundaries of creative. The reason I took up marketing as a career choice was because I'm a creative person, and I wanted to make that my profession. But while making creative the core of what you do in terms of marketing, make sure that you embrace the data and the AI and all the technology behind you, so you can, do the creative stuff unencumbered, right? So that you're not worried about the ROI, you're not worried about if you're missing signals and all that. So you can push the boundaries on what you do creatively, making sure because you're so sure the technology that is underneath you, right? Without that, you'll always be pulled in various different directions trying to add value to everyone. So again, my advice to future CMOs and to marketing professionals is that never let go of the creative power you have, because that is still the number one power you have as marketers. That's what sets you apart from everybody else. But make sure that you embrace the technology and make sure that you always take that into consideration. Yeah, that would be my closing statement.
No, I think that's great, and I would go back to what you said, Shashi, that these tools are not a replacement for strategy. They're not a replacement for good for good creative. Those fundamental things change no matter what technologies you're using.
Yes.
But when you're smart about that and you have your strategy, these tools can really bring together the art and the science and really change the way that we deliver and the way we make our seat matter at the table. So my closing thought would be, and all of that, is that the future is moved up. You and we have the opportunity to be prescient business professionals that can really see around corners. So get out there and understand your ROI, and don't let your competitors be better hunters than you are. These tools are out there to help us. So with that, I thank you, Shashi, and I thank you, Abhishek, and I thank you very much, Enterprise IO, for the opportunity to have this discussion with everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shashi.
Many thanks, Kerry, Abhishek, and Shashi, for taking us through such an interesting, insightful discussion. In fact, all those who have stayed back to listen to you say that this has been an absolutely fantastic discussion.